It's 2026, and social media hasn't contributed a single positive thing to our lives. If anything, it's made everyone miserable, and if there's one thing we can all agree on, it's that everybody hates influencers. That's exactly what happens in today's story. Imagine Batman's Robin growing up, dropping all his hero values and revealing his secret identity to the world, not to save lives, but solely to get rich, gain clout, and sleep with beautiful women. He literally cares more about trending on Twitter than stopping actual crime. We're diving into Insufferable by Waid, a comic that takes the classic superhero sidekick and turns him into an absolute narcissistic nightmare who constantly sells out his own dad for brand deals and followers. A villain named Fossor goes live on social media, recording his actions and threatening to kill a little girl if people don't donate over $50 million to him. He's made a webpage with an untraceable one-click donation button, everything to make it as easy as possible for people to donate. The little girl is buried up to her neck and just moments away from being buried alive, while Fossor claims that Galahad, the city's infamous hero, isn't coming to save her. Suddenly, someone destroys the power batteries, which cuts off the live feed. It's another hero named Nocturnus who hits him in the face with his stick and then destroys his laptop. Fossor planted bombs all around this warehouse and wants to blow it up, but Nocturnus already disabled them. This place is a dump, and the villain gets buried beneath the rubble during the fight. Next, Nocturnus jumps into the hole and wants to save the little girl, who is panicking and wants to get the hell out of there. Suddenly, Galahad appears and offers to help him, saying they don't have much time and offers to pull her out. He takes the little girl and begins running, while Nocturnus is left behind and gets buried beneath the crumbling warehouse. The cops are outside and they take the little girl, and Channel 4 is reporting live from the scene of the crime. Galahad is a popular hero in his city and he loves the attention, but he forgets to mention Nocturnus and takes all the credit for saving the little girl. Nocturnus is watching the entire scene from a distance when Lieutenant Anne Rainwood brings him a cup of coffee. She wonders why he lets him take all the credit, claiming he doesn't have to save his ass all the time. But Galahad is actually his son. The two of them used to be partners together, fighting crime, but they had a falling out and they don't hang out anymore. Nocturnus disappears into the night and enters the metro subway system, where he has a secret wagon waiting to take him back to his hideout. He and his son have never been close, and his wife always wanted him to spend more time together before passing away. He listened to her and started training him, helping him to become his sidekick so they could fight crime together. But as Galahad grew older, he got tired of his father always pushing him to the side, treating him like a kid, until one day when he decided to reveal his true identity to the media. Nocturnus still keeps his son's first costume in his hideout, but he feels sad about how things turned out between the two of them. After Galahad went public, he got a lot of attention and became very popular, while his dad lives out his life in solitude, avoiding contact with anyone and living in the shadows. Nocturnus takes pills to deal with the constant pain from his injured body, while his son enjoys life and sleeps with multiple women at a time. Galahad wakes up in the middle of the night and connects to his website, where he manages a blog and his own personal fan club. He checks the comments and likes seeing how people praise his work against Fossor, claiming another victory. He records most of his fights with a camera planted in his mask, but his father got in the way of most of the shots, and he can't make them public and take full credit. While most of the comments are positive, some people are against him, saying they miss the old father and son team. They think he's an ingrate and a loudmouth, and they pity his dad, who had to stand him bad-mouthing him all those years. But Galahad recounts his childhood, remarking that maybe his dad wasn't some kind of model father. Nothing was ever good enough for him, even when he got nothing but A's and B's at school. He always thought there was room for improvement. After Galahad went public, his dad burned their old family home, which pissed him off because it was his house too. Apparently the day his mother died, he and his dad should have been with her, but his dad wanted them to go on another mission, so she went out alone on a snowy day. She lost control of the car and fell off the bridge into a freezing river where she drowned in mere seconds. After that, they cremated her body, and her ashes were spread across two urns, one for him and one for his father. In the present, something is happening to his mother's ashes while simultaneously doing the same thing to his father's urn as well. Both urns explode, spilling water mixed with ashes everywhere, including on themselves. But that's not all. The explosion leaves a message behind on the walls, reading, "Help me." Nocturnus doesn't have a clue what just happened, but he wants to find out, so he takes samples of the ashes and puts them inside one of his machines in the lab. Lieutenant Rainwood is reading a copy of Galahad's biography when someone knocks on her window. It's Nocturnus, but she wants him to just use the door next time, like regular people, and maybe come dressed in normal clothes. He claims that a lot of dangerous people know the face behind the mask since the breakup, so he's careful not to let it be seen that way they can't find out where he lives now, or what name he's using. Or so he thought, because someone found out his current identity, broke inside his home, and sabotaged his wife's ashes. He ran a chemical analysis on the cremains. They are human ashes, but he was hoping she could have some DNA testing to verify her identity. He thinks that someone tampered with his wife's remains, and they're onto him, but she wonders if it could be a message sent directly by her. Somewhere else, Galahad is giving another interview, announcing that his mother is still alive and by this time tomorrow, he will have found her and brought her home. He goes back home, but his main gate is flooded with journalists who want to know more. But he asks them to check his Twitter feed, saying that everyone has offered to help him, including the FBI and Scotland Yard. He goes inside and starts crying at the mere sight of his mother's ashes splattered on the wall. He isn't alone because his dad is behind him and scares the living shit out of him. He's not welcome inside his home, but his dad claims he got the same message when his wife's ashes exploded. Galahad claims he gave the interview because now he has the entire internet helping him find clues about his mother. He has an entire Twitterverse digging up clues, the whereabouts of anyone with a grudge, anything suspicious in the streets. He literally mobilized the public. It's already working because a mass murderer named Malvolio was spotted near the aquarium. Somewhere else, a man is returning home after a long day at work, happy to see his family again. But when he goes inside his home, he finds his wife and daughter butchered on the floor. The cops arrive and they think he killed his own family. They think he's some criminal named the Praetorian, who apparently was the deadliest serial killer the city ever saw. Out of nowhere, a ladder drops down from the sky, holding his mask and welcoming him back. He starts climbing and narrowly avoids getting shot by the cops, who opened fire on him. Someone made it look like he killed his own family and is framing him for their murders, calling him sloppy and saying he works for him now. The father and son duo reunite once again and head toward the aquarium to confront Malvolio. Unfortunately, Galahad called the media once again, and the place is swarming with journalists, so Nocturnus separates from his son. The cops say that Malvolio took hostages and they're keeping them inside, but who visits the aquarium on a Saturday night? Malvolio is watching him on CCTV cameras, but he wanted him to bring his father as well, and seeing him alone pisses him off. Inside, he shows Galahad a USB drive, claiming it contains information about his mother, but he doesn't want to give it to him unless his dad comes. They are separated by a tank filled with piranha fish, and anyone who falls inside could get eaten alive in seconds. Suddenly, Nocturnus arrives and kicks his son into the tank, demanding Malvolio tell him information about his wife. The tank is filled with hungry, man-eating fish armed with teeth sharp enough to tear through anything. Malvolio throws the drive toward him and can't believe he threw his own son inside, saying he got mean with old age. At that exact moment, his henchman shoots Nocturnus from behind, but he heard him coming and anticipated this, so he ducked right before. Nocturnus picks up the drive and goes after Malvolio, who wants to get the hell out of there. He catches him from behind and pins him to the ground, but Galahad survived the tank and is angrier than ever. He accuses his father of trying to kill him, but piranha fish only become violent if they detect blood, and, besides, he planted a piranha repellent on the back of his neck before pushing him in the water, so he was safe. Malvolio escapes, but Galahad wants to go back to his lab and examine the drive. However, his dad lies and says he doesn't have it. Nocturnus denies having the drive, but his son knows he's lying, claiming that at least Malvolio never lied to him. Lieutenant Rainwood is unhappy that the cops let the two heroes leave the crime scene without even the slightest debriefing. Apparently, Malvolio isn't the only maniac sighted in their city in the past few hours. They've had separate sightings of Omanax, Praetorian, Razorjaw, and The Choice. Nocturnus goes back home and begins investigating to see what's on the flash drive, but his son was able to hack his router and is sitting outside in his car, seeing what's on the drive as well. According to a private investigator named Jeremy Wayne Wilberforce, John Culver, also known as Nocturnus, murdered his own wife Lauren. Galahad still hasn't checked in since the aquarium, and his publicist, a woman named Meg, is getting worried. Joachim, one of her co-workers, claims that people are much happier and more productive when he's not around. It's her job to make him look good, but he's an arrogant prick and he wouldn't want her job. Nocturnus leaves his apartment, but his son is watching him and wonders how he left without tripping his alarms. He follows him to the cemetery where his mother is buried, but his dad disappears. He gets close to his mother's grave and wonders if it's true, if his dad actually killed her, when out of nowhere a pair of hands emerges from the ground and grabs him. While this is happening, someone else attacks him from behind and hits him over the head with a shovel. He comes to his senses and fights back, but these guys outnumber him and he gets pushed into a corner. His dad shows up, but instead of helping him, he takes pictures of them fighting and uploads them to Facebook. In the end, he decides to help his son, who says that a guy named Jeremy Wilberforce knows what happened to his mother and he plans to find him. Pictures of the two of them are flooding the internet, and people are already tweeting about it, saying they made up. Galahad goes back to his agency and wants Meg to fix this, to make up a reason for him and his dad getting back together. He's mad as hell and wants to take out his anger on some criminals, so she tells him who's in the city right now. She shows him a list of wanted criminals, one more ruthless than the other, a woman named The Choice, Praetorian, Omenax, and also a guy with monster-sharp teeth named Razorjaw. Meg was able to piece together that he lied about his mother. He doesn't actually know if she's really alive, but someone tried to get to him by rigging his mother's ashes to blow up in his face. If he shows weakness, if he lets himself act human for even 1 second, that will do a lot of damage to his image. He belittles Meg in front of the other people working at the agency, but she shows him The Choice and asks him to take out his anger on her. Somewhere else, The Choice kidnapped a man's son and tied him next to a cheap copy of himself. She then threatens to kill both of them unless his father can figure out who his real son actually is, vowing to let them leave if he can figure it out. They look exactly the same, and the only difference is that one of them has a tattoo on his right hand, while the other doesn't. Unfortunately, this guy isn't very close to his son, and doesn't even know if his son has a tattoo or not, so he still can't pick between the two of them. Out of nowhere, Nocturnus shows up and starts beating the thugs without breaking a sweat. He then punches The Choice in the nose, asking what happened to her. She always played for money, not murder. Apparently the dad used to be married to Lauren, but Nocturnus stole her from him, and this guy has been bitter ever since. He claims she would still be alive if she'd stayed with him, but now she's dead thanks to him. The dad's son is the one with the tattoo, and he tries to comfort his dad when suddenly Galahad breaks through their living room. Unfortunately, he's kinda late because his dad already saved the day. The next day, Razorjaw kidnaps Emily Berry, who used to be Galahad's girlfriend a long time ago, and she thinks it's because Razorjaw wants to get to him. Apparently they used to be a couple, but when he revealed his true identity to the world, she had to leave and go into hiding. The decision to reveal his identity took a toll on everyone around him, and her life changed drastically. She also says she didn't have a clue about her boyfriend's secret. Her parents moved her to an undisclosed location until today, when Razorjaw found and kidnapped her. Galahad is chasing them on the highway on his bike, but he decides to shoot them with an electromagnetic pulse. This causes Razorjaw to lose control of the car, and they fall off the highway to their deaths. Luckily they survive, but his dad was faster once again and he arrested Razorjaw before him. Emily is also pissed at him because he nearly killed her when he shot them, so she punches him in the face. There were multiple helicopters in the area and they recorded the entire scene. Twitter is blowing up as we speak, with people taking her side and asking her to hit him again. Today was another disaster, so Galahad goes to a private bar to get drunk, while also enjoying the company of beautiful women. Unfortunately, he got wasted and attacked one of the guys there, punching him in the face. Meg gives him her business card, asking him to call her because they're gonna compensate him if he doesn't call the cops. Galahad begins crying, saying he's weak because his dad killed his mother and he hasn't lifted a finger against him. He's been paralyzed. He thinks this because of the info on the thumb drive from Malvolia. Also, Razorjaw kidnapped his ex-girlfriend, and The Choice victimized his mom's first husband, so someone is definitely playing him. Meg thinks they need to talk to his dad and get his help, so they head over to his place and break inside by hacking his locks. Meanwhile, Nocturnus goes to his old boardroom trying to catch Omenax, who was there, but he was too late. The headmaster was nearly killed in the attack, but he doesn't want to help him unless he gives him information about Omenax's intentions. Nocturnus claims the headmaster used to terrorize young kids when he was here, and he doesn't mind if this whole place gets destroyed. He goes back home and finds his son and Meg trapped, caught in one of his booby traps. He takes her down safely but doesn't want to let her go just yet. He's not wearing a costume, so this means she knows his secret identity. He mocks his son and accuses him of spilling his secret identity to a stranger, which is a bad habit of his. While hanging upside down, Galahad remembers when they used to do this as training, when his father would make him sit upside down by the side of his bed. He's done some stupid ass stuff, but he's still his kid, and he's still his dad, and they're all they've got, claiming it's what mom would have wanted. He eventually sets his son free, but instead of being thankful, he punches him in the face. Galahad is pushed back and he slams straight into his printer, destroying it. But his son gives him $50, saying it was old and probably doesn't cost more than that. This pisses his dad off, and he retaliates, smacking him over the head with his stick. He wants him to get out of his home and never come back. His son asks him if that's what he told his mom before he killed her, claiming he talked to Jeremy Wayne Wilberforce, the private investigator, who told him everything. His dad says it's the wrong answer and then puts him to sleep by zapping him with his stick. Galahad wakes up in the cemetery next to Jeremy Wilberforce's grave, proving that this guy is actually dead, so he couldn't have talked to him, which means the information about his dad being his mom's killer is probably fake. Meg figured out that Nocturnus knew that his son was hacking his router, so he planted that fake information about the private investigator to send him on a snipe hunt. He did it because he wants to focus on finding the person who's been messing with both of them, who made his mother's ashes explode in his own home, and the best way to do this is without his son's involvement. As long as his son thinks that this life of crime fighting is about fame and money, about being the center of attention and about getting laid, he will be bad at it. He won't have the time or the focus to condition his body and sharpen his wits. He doesn't like what she's doing as a publicist, claiming she diminishes him and lives off what he squanders like a parasite. But she's done more than that. She listened to him and held him while he cried. She tried to tell him he's a good person even if he doesn't kill his father for murdering his mother because someone has to be the parent, which he clearly isn't. Nocturnus thinks that his son will focus on Wilberforce's death, even though it has nothing to do with his mother's death, which will keep him out of his hair while he focuses on the real mystery of what Malvolia really handed him back at the aquarium. However, his son didn't take the bait because he returns to his home, claiming he's not a detective. He just wants him to give him the clues. Someone's deliberately manipulating them into embracing their greatest weakness, which is them working together, hoping they'll tear each other apart. Meanwhile, at Sacred Heart Hospital, Malvolia breaks inside and attacks a nurse. He then forces her to take him to Dr. Robert Dodge, claiming he's here to kidnap him for a client, but he's not working alone. Praetorian is also here, and they take the doctor and the nurse down the hall, but they stop in front of the nursery because Malvolia says he's found the perfect arena for their ultimate showdown. Apparently, the thumb drive contains a list of people, some kind of hit list containing a person or a setting from their past. They found a reference to the boarding school that Nocturnus attended and where he sent his son. The clues inside the files even mentioned the date and time the academy was going to be attacked, but only a half hour before it happened, which only gave him a small window to get there. There's another clue inside those files, one pointing to Dr. Dodge, the doctor who delivered Galahad. They drive to the hospital and luckily the doctor is still alive, but Malvolia is inside the nursery with the babies. The place is empty and all the babies are missing from their cribs. He took all of them and tied them against his body, creating a safety vest around himself, ensuring that they won't try attacking him. Nocturnus disappears and leaves his son all alone, while Malvolia laughs in his face, saying his daddy betrayed him once again. Seeing he can't attack him, Galahad takes out his checkbook and tries to bribe him with money, saying he's gonna make him a very generous offer if he releases the babies. He then throws the check to him, but he only wrote "look up" instead of an actual sum of money. That's because his dad is on the rooftop and he grabs Malvolia by the neck, pulling him upward and choking him, which causes him to drop his gun. Since he is unable to do anything in this current state, the father and son duo spring into action and disarm him of all the babies. Malvolia is still hanging by his neck, but he's still alive, just unconscious. Meanwhile, in the basement of the hospital, Praetorian killed 2 guards and is about to break inside the radioactive section of the hospital while crying his heart out. Galahad wonders what Malvolia's plan was all along, when suddenly there is a powerful explosion which shakes the entire hospital. The vault downstairs contains special canisters of radioactive waste, probably from wasteful materials used in radiotherapy for cancer patients. Nocturnus asks Praetorian if he was the great mastermind behind all of this and demands to know why he pulled all of his enemies together. Unfortunately, it's not him. He's just a pawn in all of this, just like he and his son are. He claims that someone killed his family, carved them up, and pinned it on him to force him back into the criminal life, and he feels sorry about it. He opens a canister and starts drinking it, trying to take his own life, but before passing out, he manages to say one word. Galahad is still in the nursery with the babies hitting on one of the hot nurses when he gets a phone notification. News of him being back together with his dad and working together is already going viral, but this is bad for his business. A body spray company has already cancelled his sponsorship because Cool Products love him because he hated his dad, and the news of them being back together is bad. There are Twitter accounts turning the public against Galahad, and he wants Meg to do something about it, like find out who owns the account and shut it down. His father comes along and smashes his phone, claiming that people are dead and they have work to do. But the tweets don't stop coming. People claiming the fall of Galahad has begun, and this is only the beginning. The outside of the hospital is crawling with people who want to take a picture with his bike, but they need to be careful because it's got sick anti-theft traps. His father already takes the main seat, so the only spot available is in the sidecar. His dad wants him to get in, but Galahad pictures himself inside, looking like a young kid and everyone laughing at him. They need to move, and his dad literally drags him along while he speeds away on the bike. Joachim wants Meg to come and help them deal with the whole situation because they've got a major PR problem to deal with. Galahad takes out a spare phone, but when his dad calls him son, it triggers a childhood memory of his parents fighting, claiming he doesn't like that word. His dad wants him to dial a number and find out how bad they've screwed this case up, but instead of doing just that, Galahad checks Twitter again and sees people talking about him. His image is going down the drain, while also claiming he's losing a fortune, one that he built on his own without having to depend on his dad. They wonder if Malvolia is the one behind all of this. He's the one who left the thumb drive full of clues. But clue dropping isn't really his style, neither is the Choices or Razorjaw's or anyone's. They don't know who's behind this, but they know the motive, to make them work together again so they'll annihilate each other. Nocturnus wants his son to help dial the number he gave him, and that will tell them who started this. He also claims that he gave a sample of his wife's ashes to Lieutenant Rainwood to run a DNA match to verify it was his wife's. He eventually talks to her on the phone and she confirms that the results are conclusive. The ashes belong to his wife Lauren. They agreed to meet in private, but she only brought 2 coffees. She didn't know he was bringing his kid. Nocturnus claims he doesn't believe she actually ran a DNA test on the cremated remains. When his son revealed his true identity and exposed himself, it made headlines before she came into town. No one talked about anything else for a week. She knew enough about him to know that he could be a trusted ally, so he came to her with the ashes and ran a harmless bluff. No one with years in homicide would hesitate to tell him that cremation eradicates any trace of DNA, unless they thought they could use his ignorance to fool him. She claims she doesn't have any idea what he's talking about. She only tried to help him, but Praetorian's dying word pointed at her. Lou, as in lieutenant. She calls them both insane and wants to leave, but Galahad wants her to call the guy who's pulling her strings, the money man with the motive. Meanwhile, Meg is sitting inside her office at Galahad Global Inc., writing a document about Operations Vice President Joachim Reinwood. Apparently she has evidence implicating him in several misdeeds and abuses, which she's known about since her first month working here. She found multiple pieces of evidence of him using company money to pay for personal expenses, and even the disappearance of one of her colleagues, which she thinks he had something to do with. The person Rainwood called is actually Joachim, the mastermind behind everything that's been happening lately. Nocturnus says that he has his son's company personnel files, which revealed his connection to his half-sister Rainwood. They've profaned the memory of his wife in order to embezzle millions from his son's company, but while they are talking, Galahad leaves to go after him. Joachim asks Nocturnus if he remembers a villain named Ominax, also known as the Modular name. He was a second-rate crime boss who, after he contracted necrotizing fasciitis from a back-alley super steroid experiment, became obsessed with prosthetics. Nocturnus knows all about him, but what he doesn't know is that Joachim and his sister are both his kids, which they found out a couple of months ago. While they are talking, he's also transferring all the money from the company into a personal account. Everyone thought that Ominax was dead, but he met with them in private and showed them the evidence he used to blackmail them. He threatened to ruin her career and Joachim's too. She didn't have to do much, mostly just turn a blind eye and slip him information on where to find some of his former allies, like Praetorian. She wanted to tell Nocturnus the truth, but she was too ashamed, so she went along and said nothing. But her brother felt otherwise. He saw Ominax as a business opportunity. He wanted revenge on the father and son duo, but his plan needed financing. So Joachim thought he could help him by doing some stealthy accounting, which is easy when your boss is a nitwit. Galahad eventually arrives at the offices and wants to surprise him from behind, but Joachim shoots him with a gun. His father heard the gun, but he has problems of his own because Ominax is right behind him, about to do the same thing to him as well. His son was shot straight in the heart and lies unconscious on the ground, presumably dead. Nocturnus is fighting for his life as well, while Joachim finishes transferring the funds to his offshore account and wants to leave. Ominax came up with the plan himself, knowing that his greatest weakness was that idiot son of his. Fortunately, Galahad is still alive, thanks to one of the spare phones which he always keeps in his chest pocket. Ominax says that Nocturnus should have had a daughter, but Rainwood actually wants to shoot him from behind. Galahad gets up and tries to stop Joachim from escaping with his money, but he's in no shape to put up a good fight and gets kicked to the ground. Ominax wins and is about to pull the final trigger, asking Nocturnus if he has anything to live for at this point. He's slow and he's old. He's basically doing him a favor. Out of nowhere, Ominax's daughter jumps him and pushes him over the side of the building. They both begin free-falling and Nocturnus tries to catch her, but he isn't fast enough. They land on the ground below and they are both bleeding to death, but Ominax is still alive. It seems he's got enough metal inside of him to break the fall, but too bad about the officer. Somehow she's alive as well, and he wants her to stay still while he calls for an ambulance. His son is in trouble and he needs to go help him, but she begs him not to abandon her, claiming his son is an asshole while she risked her life to save him. But that's the thing with kids. They don't become assholes on their own. They grow up, they make their own choices, their own decisions. But they learn by example. And any man who motivates his child with fear, like he did, he's the one who's owed nothing. The lieutenant defends her actions, claiming Ominax threatened to ruin her. She was ashamed and feels sorry, but he forgives her. Ominax laughs at their special moment, cursing that he doesn't have a violin to play a sad song. The fight at the offices continues, and Galahad is finally able to overpower Joachim and pin him to the ground. He then takes his gun and puts it in his mouth, threatening to kill him for betraying his trust. He ruined him. He took everything, all the money, all the credit, left him with nothing, and made him a laughingstock. He also had people killed and pissed on his mother's ashes. He has every reason to pull the trigger and kill him. Instead of trying to convince him otherwise, his dad thinks the same thing and asks him to kill him. But Galahad doesn't like him telling him what to do, which is exactly what he was counting on. He was using reverse psychology on him. All this talking makes him careless, and Joachim manages to push him out the window. His father jumps after him without hesitation, using the stick and a rope to try and save him. He manages to grab him, but now they are both stuck and there's no way they can pull themselves back up. As if things aren't bad enough, Joachim throws down a table, hoping to catch both of them and make them fall. Galahad uses the gun to shoot the rope, while also asking his dad to do Maneuver 8, one of the moves they used to practice growing up. It works, and they are both able to land inside one of the lower floors, but Nocturnus says that was Maneuver 9, not 8. 8 is find the nearest manhole, which had nothing to do with the situation they are in. 7 days later, Nocturnus has completely disappeared, and Galahad's whereabouts are likewise unknown, following the collapse of his company in the wake of an embezzlement that has left him bankrupt and damaged his reputation beyond repair. Galahad finds the entire situation humiliating. This is exactly what he wanted at this stage in his life, to be living with his father after losing everything. Joachim has taken all his money to the Cayman Islands, but how is he supposed to get it back? How does he even follow him without a plane ticket? Luckily for them, Meg shows up carrying 3 tickets to the Cayman Islands, saying that if he wants justice for all of them, they just need to follow her plan.